Hello and welcome to this video cast for subscribers to davidicke.com on location. Come out the place of work today, which is really one of the themes of what I'm going to talk about, because I come up here not nearly enough, but more now. And it's a beautiful spot on the Isle of Wight. It's a chalk cliff that goes out to sea that way, and over there it's a great panorama of the Sandown Bay, and it's just a wonderful place to come and disconnect from must-dos, gotta. And since I've been taking not, a break from work, but just taking it easier since I was ill over the last few weeks, coming out of it now, it gives you another perspective on what we call life. I've been writing about these subjects that I'm going to talk about for a long time, but the last few weeks has kind of brought it into greater focus. And I guess you could sum it up with a question: what's it all about? And another one: what are we doing? Because what, for most people, the vast majority, we call life, it's not life at all in the widest sense. It's a conveyor belt. It's a software program that we go through when we press start. That's what we call birth. And when we shut the computer down, that's what we call death. And what happens in the middle, for most people, like I say, the vast majority, is not life, but a program, a sequence, a recurring sequence, which almost everyone around you is also going through, which gives the illusion that it's normal. It ain't normal. I remember an advertisement on British television some years ago. It obviously wasn't a great advertisement because I can't remember what it was for, but it was a brilliant concept. And what happened is this baby is born, comes out of the womb, and then flies through the air like a missile at great speed. And as it is going through the sequence, it ages faster and faster and faster until it becomes an old person, and then whoosh, smacks into the ground, and the ground covers it up in the grave. And that really struck me when I saw it, because I thought, okay, it might be going a bit faster, but that's what happens. And it's because we are going through programming from the moment we're born. Actually, probably before we're born, in the womb, we're picking it up. And what happens is, first of all, your parents that have been through the sequence that I'm going to describe, they are passing on the same sequence as if it's not only normal, but the right thing to do, almost the only thing to do. And this sequence goes like this. You're born, then you have a very, very short, increasingly short period of relative freedom. In this world, freedom is always relative. And that maybe lasts 3 years, if you're lucky. And then into the fourth year, maybe even before that, with preschool, you're into school. And suddenly, just that long after you've entered this world, there's an authority figure standing up in front of you, telling you what's right and what's wrong, what's good and what's bad, what's credible and not credible, and even down to when you can and cannot go to the toilet. And that already has triggered this lifelong programming of an authority figure, or figures, in the end an authority system, dictating our lives. But to do it without much resistance, it has to persuade us that this program is to be pursued, is to be seen as credible, is to be seen as the only way. And I've sat around a table just before I spoke at the Oxford Union a few years ago with some young students who, at that teenage point in their life, already could not perceive of any world that didn't involve this process and didn't involve a top-down structure of hierarchical power. Talking of power, that's the power of the program to distort and download the perception of reality into the vast majority of people, certainly in the Western world, in the very first early years of their lives in this reality. So, you go to school, and it starts. And then you go to a bigger school, and then a bigger school. And the idea is that you constantly confirm to the system that you're taking on its version of reality by telling it what it wants to hear in something called exams. Examinations become the criteria, the point of judgment on whether you are intelligent or stupid or compliant or free thinking. And the more that you pass the exams as you progress through this system, the more you are considered to be intelligent. And when you do look at the education system and the exam passing system, what becomes very clear is it is absolutely no test or qualification for intelligence. Some of the most stupid people I've ever met in my life have been up to their necks in educational qualifications. Academia is full of people of extraordinarily limited perception of everything. All they know, or what they think they know, is what the system has told them to know. And so you go through this system and onto university. More and more people going to university. Why? Because universities make a fortune. The more people they can get in there, the better for them financially. And so they lower the qualifications and what have you, so that they can get more people in and they get more money and they can program more people for longer. And then you go out into the world of work. Now, all the time you hear this phrase that the education system must prepare students for the world of work. And what that means is it must prepare them to become cogs in a machine, to be used while they are healthy and have the energy to serve the machine. And then when they get old and have the capacity no longer to serve the machine, they just kick them out. The quicker they're out this world, the better, to the system's point of view. And the idea, what I've done, I've just knocked out not a few notes, just a few words that expose the system for its psychological manipulation. One of them is ambition. What they want is for people to have an ambition that suits the system. And an ambition, by definition, involves a desired outcome, which is already set you up for disappointment. Because if the desire is great enough for this outcome, this ambition, then the only way that you are going to feel successful, you are going to feel fulfilled, is if that outcome becomes manifest, if your ambition is realized. However, we live, if we only realized it, in a world, a reality of infinite possibility. And when you become aware that you are infinite possibility, you start tapping into levels of yourself that are beyond the program. And then you start to see the program for what it is. A program, a piece of software for the mind. So the program doesn't want that. It wants you focused on one dot amid an infinity of potential dots. So you must have an ambition. You must desire an outcome. And that's deadly. Because very few who set out in pursuit of an outcome reach the outcome. So suddenly life's a disappointment. I never did what I had the ambition to do. Well, do something else then. You're infinite possibility. But the system doesn't want that. You must seek your ambition. You must achievement. We must have achievement. But then you ask the question, whose achievement? What or who is coming up with the definition of achievement? Who is coming up with the definition of success? The system, the program. See, most people are insecure. They can't find security within themselves, so they look for external senses and confirmations of security. And one great sense of security, it's an illusion, but it's a sense of security in the minds of so many people, is that they are successful. And to get that external confirmation of your success, therefore your sense of self, you have to succeed within the definition of success that the program lays out. So the program is designed to hold people in the five senses, to pull our point of attention, our sense of reality, out of the true self into the illusory self, into the holographic self, into the five sense self. So of course, what it's going to give us to pursue, to seek, to have ambition for, is a success overwhelmingly based on the accumulation of things and trinkets, the accumulation of money for money's sake, not as a byproduct of what you do, but as the very focus and meaning for it. That you're going to have the big house and you're going to have the big car, and you are going to judge your success and invite others to judge your success based on that. But of course, it's just a hoax. And what happens is this, and you know, I don't know if you've come across the same thing or you're experiencing the same thing, but I've come across so many examples in more recent times of those who've been through this sequence, this program, and have suddenly stopped and said, what am I doing? What have I been doing? Why am I doing it? Where is this going? What's happening? Because some people go from almost cradle through to grave, still believing in the illusion of the system, believing it's the only way, believing that trinkets and money and big houses are symbols of success. But more and more, I'm seeing people just seeing through it while still being in it, which is very, very encouraging in terms of the power of the system over the human mind. And what happens is, it's like the donkey with the carrot just dangling in front of its nose. And the donkey keeps chasing the carrot, but of course the carrot doesn't get any closer because it's dangling in front of its nose. You can use the analogy of sitting on a horse in a carousel, and you are chasing the one in front, but of course on a carousel you're never going to catch the one in front. It's always going to be just in front. And this carrot within this system, within this process of hijacking human life, is that something. That something, just like the carousel horse, is always just over the horizon. Just over the horizon, just a bit more. So you get people thinking, just a bit more money and then I'll be happy. But they never are. It's very, very rare, if ever, that you meet very rich people who are actually happy, that actually have joy in their lives. They're too busy pursuing and seeking to stop and feel joy. And so what happens is you have this carrot. You could call it pursuing ambition, pursuing success, pursuing improving yourself. They have all these bloody different names. And so you start out in the education system and now you have to work. And instead of enjoying your life and chilling and coming out into places of beauty and enjoying them, it's work, got to revise. I must pass my exams. I don't want to let my parents down. They'll be disappointed. Well, they should be. Should be disappointed in themselves if that's their attitude. And so you pass your exams. Yes! Because I want to be something. What do you want to be? I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a banker. I want to be this. I want to be a politician. I want to be whatever. And often, more often than people wish to admit, it's not their ambition at all. It's what they've been told to have. It's what they've been told to pursue, often by idiot parents who want to live their lives through their kids, a form of child abuse in my view. And through academia that encourages them, oh, you ought to do this, this is your path in life and all that stuff. And I've met so many people in my life who have done this and been successful, i.e. big house, a lot of money, big car, but have hated every minute of it. Sometimes had relationships and marriages in pursuit of the goal. And they've hated it. All those years. But they were successful. Why? Because the system wants them to believe that, so tells them that. And all the people around them that have bought the same illusion, they tell them that. Oh, you're successful. And so people go on pursuing this. And they get money, they get a big car, they get a big house, they're successful, they get fame sometimes. But there's nothing there. They're not happy like they thought they were going to be when they had all these things. They're not fulfilled. They don't have joy in their life, which they thought they would have when they got these things. So they think, well, I'll just pursue it some more, just a bit more. And they get a bit more. Sometimes they get a lot more. And then it's just the same. No joy, no happiness, no fulfillment, just more money, more things, more trinkets. And gradually, and like I say, it seems to me, in my experience anyway, more and more people in this situation are just saying, what's it all about? What have I been doing all my life? And they find themselves in the system, not wanting to be in the system, but trapped by the system, because that's where their income comes from. One of the things I've noticed in recent times anyway, is the number of doctors that want to get out of it. And those are invariably doctors who have realized that they are cogs in a machine called Big Pharma medicine that's not there to make people healthy or well. It's actually one of the biggest, if not the biggest killer in the world, certainly the Western world, the treatment in all its forms. And they know, many of these doctors who've been in the system and bought the system and done the system's bidding, that chemotherapy is killing people, if not in the short term, then in the, not even the long term, but the little longer term, by destroying the immune system, by destroying the body's natural defenses. One of them called it weed killer. Putting weed killer in there to kill the cancer. Sounds intelligent, isn't it? And so they have to then, well, they don't have to, but they choose to go into work on a Monday morning and prescribe treatments they know are either useless or killing the patient. But if they don't, if they encourage the patient to do other things outside of the scalpel and the drug, bang, it's all over. And what this is doing is killing them. Eventually, it'll kill the body because of the effect upon the body of that enormous conscious and subconscious emotional stress that comes from being in that situation. Because your self is at war with another part of self, that which knows it's all bollocks and that which prescribes the bollocks to survive financially, because that's your income. That dynamic of conflict within is devastating to health. And that's an interesting point about dead people. Dead people walking. There's so many of them. And basically, dead people walking is the program walking. The program reacting, the program having opinions based on the system's version of everything. And there's the dead people walking who have replaced their soul, if you like, for want of a word, their point of reference for perception, behavior, responses. They've replaced their true self with the fake self called money. I won't go into what money is, talked about it at length last week. It's just figures on a screen. But I had an experience in the last week with some people who have replaced their point of reference, their true point of reference, with money. So their reference point for every thought, every decision, every behavior and response is one question. What do I have to do to make more money? And you know, people talk about money being the root of all evil. That's not what the phrase says. It says the love of money is the root of all evil. Within the world that we live in and the society that we live in, what we call money is a way of overcoming the limitations of barter. And on that basis, there's nothing wrong with it. What's wrong with it is charging interest on money, creating money as a debt to start with, and all that stuff. But having a unit of exchange which overcomes the limitations of barter, there's no problem with that. But once the unit of exchange ceases to be a way of human interaction and exchange and becomes the point of life itself, the accumulation of it becomes the point of life itself, then that person is dead. The program's walking, but they're dead, in the sense that they live a mechanical existence by which a illusory hoax called money dictates their lives down to the fine detail. And met two people who were pursuers of money for money's sake. And one of them said of me and someone who was with me, "Oh, they're idealists," referring to us. They're idealists. They believe in this compassion and justice and fairness and all that stuff. I'm in it for the money. And I felt so sorry for that person, because that was a dead man talking, in my view. And it was so indicative of how insane this world is, that basic, I would say basic responses, like compassion for people in trouble, justice, fairness, are considered to be idealistic. When in any sane society, in any balanced society, they would be the norm. They would be just how it is. But the program has got such a control of the perception and the minds of so many that basic responses become almost a form of contempt, or a focus of contempt by the money-sold people I'm talking about, for whom the program has got them hook, line, and sinker. Interesting. What I've done with this video cast in the full version is I put a video that was on the website this week of a man who was acting as a homeless man in the street, and when people walked past, instead of asking for money, he was giving them money. And the response from a few of these people that walked past was extraordinary. One said, "You've given me money, I could buy you." What does that mean? There he was on his phone, you know. "I'm successful, I've got a phone. I'm frying my brain, I'm so successful. I could buy you," he said. And what he meant was, I have loads of figures on a screen that are only worth anything because we take them seriously. If we realised they were worthless, they'd be worthless. There was another guy who responded aggressively to being offered money by this person he thought was homeless. And he had to tell the guy, "I've got a $50,000 car. You know how much that costs? $50,000. What do you want, a round of applause? Chocolate biscuit? What do you want?" This is the program that has hijacked human perception. And the encouraging thing is more and more people, even within that system, are starting to question it. And, it's not an accident that one of the biggest forms of human behavior is escapism. People try to escape through alcohol, through sex, through betting, which has become an epidemic in Britain, and through so many other ways that they are seeking to escape the world. And what they're doing is they're seeking to escape the program. All these things that they're seeking to escape the program for are overwhelmingly just different aspects of the program, ironically, but they are seeking to escape because while they have convinced themselves that what they're doing, pursuing this ambition of money and fame and all that, is the way to success, something inside them is pulling the other way. And people are trying to escape from that world. And then there's, of course, others who are not successful in accumulating money and trinkets. Again, that's the vast majority. They are seen as unsuccessful. They are seen as low life. They are seen as expendable and irrelevant because they've not been successful according to the system. It's all madness. And I put something on social media recently. In fact, I've had a T-shirt done with this on. And it was said simply, you live forever, so there's no rush. And all it was designed to do was to invite people just to look at life and ask what the rush is. Like that baby going through the air and bang, gone, another life gone. I remember I went to Hong Kong to speak many years ago. And anyone who's been to Hong Kong will know what I mean. They've got a transport system, a public transport system to die for, really. You never wait more than 2 or 3 minutes for a tram or a bus. I mean, just loads of them. And there's people everywhere getting on these buses and trams and getting off and walking. And they're on the boats going across the harbour and what? And, I described it as like, it's like someone years ago had shouted fire and they're still running. Where are they going? They don't seem to be going anywhere. Just, and everything was rush. And you look at it and you go, is that what life's about? What you're rushing for? Where are you going? And it's like, I'm rushing to get somewhere. We have this thing in life, don't we, where people say, oh, he's getting somewhere. He's going to be somebody. Well, he already is somebody. Infinite awareness. Having an experience. But where are we getting? Are we getting to joy? Are we getting to happiness? I mean, I've just been walking around this beautiful area. Just standing there watching birds kind of bob across the grass. Looking at plants and flowers and leaves, and I think they call it smelling the roses, don't they? And the beauty all around us, the extraordinary geometrical beauty all around us is extraordinary. And you know how much it cost me to do that? Nothing. Not a cent. I couldn't do it from me car. These people with the Mercedes and the big cars, they can't do it from there. They can say, "Oh, look, I'm successful. Look what I'm sitting in." But you have to stop. Of course, I came across this. I came across this poem years ago, and it's by a guy called William Henry Davies. And many people will have heard this, but it's so appropriate to what I'm talking about today. What is this life full of care? We have no time to stand and stare. No time to stand beneath the boughs and stare as long as sheep and cows. It's funny, on this little peninsula, if you like, they have sheep and cows roaming openly where you can walk among them. And you think about the pursuit of ambition, and they nonchalantly walk past you, getting on with their lives in a much slower way. But how do we know it's not a much better way? How do we know that without being a cow or a sheep? No time to see when woods we pass, where squirrels hide their nuts in grass. Well, maybe onto their own. No time to see in broad daylight streams full of stars like skies at night. Amazing, you look into a pond, don't cost anything. You look into a pond and it's a whole world, it's a whole universe of life and activity all around us, while we're looking for a bigger car and looking for a bigger washing machine and a bigger house. No time to turn at beauty's glance and watch her feet, how they can dance. No time to wait till her mouth can enrich that smile her eyes began. A poor life this, if, full of care, we have no time to stand and stare. And, you know, I've noticed over the years, did it myself once a long time ago now, when you people get into a car, they put the radio on. When people go into a room, they put television on. Or they have to fill the silence in some other way with words, often meaningless babble. Let's be on the phone. Shh. Killing the silence. People tend to be almost frightened of silence. Because silence takes them to places. It might take them to memories. It might take them to fears, whatever. And yet it's in the silence where everything exists. It's in the silence that you can hear your true self. There you go, look. Hey, right on cue. Noise. It's in the silence where you can see the illusion. When you can see the fricking nonsense of it all. That which we call human life, which is what? A life, a system that's been constructed to enslave us, and it's done a fantastic job. So much so that the pursuit of money for money's sake is now the greatest confirmation of your success. But as a Native American saying goes, when the last tree is cut down and the last fish eaten and the last stream poisoned, you will realize that you cannot eat money. That is the scale of self-destruction which lies behind the system, behind the program. When money becomes your God, everything becomes subordinate to the pursuit of money. And that includes the very ecosystem that allows us to live at all. Silence is not just golden, it's freaking beautiful, because that's where we really exist. But how many people ever hear the silence anymore? Especially since this started. Pulling us into the five senses, pulling us into the program, pulling us into the ambitions and desires of the program. Pulling us out of the real self and into the fake self. And some of the notes I made, comparison with others. We spend our lives comparing ourselves with others, and if the symbols of success are taken on board, the symbols of success of the system, then we're comparing ourselves with those who have made it according to those symbols of success, and ourselves if we've not made it according to those symbols of success. So we consider ourselves a failure. And some people, if they can't fulfill that sense of success through what you might call legitimate means, although in the widest bloody sense, because a lot. I mean, can you call banking legitimate? I mean, please, you know what I mean. Then they'll go and steal it. They'll steal it from somebody else. Once you set the symbols of success in society, you dictate the thought patterns and perception patterns of the vast majority of the population. Because we have a situation where the human race has colonized minds. Actually, if you go deep enough, it's one colonized mind with different expressions of it. And it's colonized by this program that dictates our sense of everything. And until we disconnect from it, till we start to smell the roses, till we give ourselves space to be rather than think, which is the program, space to know rather than think, then the program will go on dictating our lives and we'll think it's us making the decisions, coming to conclusions. It's not. It's the program telling us what those conclusions should be. That's why when you don't do that, you're considered an outcast, mad, strange, weird by those that are controlled by the program. And another thing is that when you pursue this system ambition, this system desire for the system's version of achievement, then you're living your life almost entirely in the future. And given that there is no time except in this fake reality, this computer simulation which has the illusion of time encoded into it, if you are living your life in the future, then you're never living your true self, which only exists in what we call the now. There is no time, only clocks. Live in the moment, because it's all there is. Everything else is mind, thought. And the future is a thought pattern. The past is a thought pattern. The only place that exists is the now. We're in the now when we think of the past. We're in the now when we think of the future. They're just thought patterns. And if you get caught in this ambition for ambition's sake perception, then you don't live in the now. That's why you don't smell the roses. You live in the future, which is just a mind construct, a thought construct. Because what you're saying is, I'm not going to enjoy what I've achieved because I've got to start pursuing the next step, the next stage. On the road to what? That baby smacking into the ground as an old person. And so many people now are going through this reevaluation. It's nothing like the majority yet, but it will be eventually. This reevaluation. What is it all about? What am I doing? Why am I chasing this ambition? Why am I not living but pursuing? And it's not a case of just sitting and nothing happening. What you find is, see, because life's an illusion, because it's all a manifestation of our own consciousness, our own mind in this reality, mind, we can have the perception that life is difficult and you have to chase things and pursue things. And what will happen? We'll end up chasing things and pursuing things, thinking that's the way to achieve, bring things about. And then there's the realization that instead of chasing things, you can let things come to you. And they just manifest. Because you make them manifest. All chasing things, pursuing things, trying to make things happen, all that is a low-level form of manifestation. But there is a deeper, expanded form of manifestation, which is just letting things come to you because you manifest them without pursuing them physically. That's what the system doesn't want us to know, because the system's over when people realize that. Someone said once, I remember, that if you're in a swimming pool and you're trying to get a ball floating in the water, and if you kind of swim and thrash out going towards it, pursuing it, and what happens? The ball is always further and further away, because it's, this is not just, kind of esoteric meandering. If you are in a constant state of pursuit, then how can you, in the end, in a state of pursuit, in a state of seeking, actually find? Because you're always in a state of seeking. How can you find if you're in a state of seeking? But if you either walk slowly to the ball, you just pick it up. Or often the ball will float towards you, which is what this manifestation I'm talking about is all about. But for that to happen, we have to get beyond the program. And no matter what people say in the alternative media, whatever information they put out, whatever methods that they say we must take to deal with this whole conspiracy, the bottom line of bottom lines is we must get beyond the program. So we stop thinking like the program for the benefit of the program. And so often in the alternative media, you'll see people who are wanting to tinker with the system. And they may tinker with it, but they're still left with the system. And so nothing ever changes of substance, of fundamentals, because the system's still there. And what is the system? It's a collective program that is downloaded into the mind's collective mind of humanity. And until we break its hold, until we break its control and dictatorship of perception, nothing will change. That's the frontier. That's the line that needs to be crossed. And then everything will change. Why? Because it must. Change perception, change awareness. What that manifests will be different to what has manifested before in what we call the world when the system was in control. It's an end to limitation. It's an end to imposition. It's an end to living the life we're told to live, and the start of living the life we really choose to live. In the silence where everything exists. See you next week. Bye.